welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we bring you news and information hopefully you'll be able to use on your next real estate transaction. This segment, well, before I even start with this segment, you know, this is a very important week here in Houston and across the country. November 3rd is a very important day. We want everyone to go out and vote, no matter how you're going to vote. We want you to go out and vote. I just think it's so important that you vote. And even when it's not a big presidential election, there's still so much to vote for. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about that this segment. I've got Dave Martin here. He's Houston City Council member for District E. And I want to talk about City Council because I know everybody, you know, we interviewed all the mayoral candidates. You're well aware of who they are, and you see all their ads on TV. But I want to talk a little bit about City Council and what they do and why it's important to vote on your City Council members. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Well, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you coming all the way from where, Kingwood?
Yes, ma'am.
And so your district, District E, is kind of a strange district. Tell us about it.
It's the most convoluted district in the city.
Geographically.
It's the furthest area north, which is Kingwood, and the furthest area south, which is Clear Lake. And then I also have a few points in between the South Belt area, Ellington Airfield, the Port of Houston, and some areas in and around that.
Some really important things are in your district.
Absolutely.
So your district, you have about how many people in your district?
About 300,000.
That's a lot of folks.
Yes, and each of the council districts are created to make sure that there's an equal representation of the number of people. That's why you create the council districts.
So how many districts are there?
There are 16 total. 11 are district specific, and then you have 5
like geographically different.
Correct.
Okay.
Then you have 5 that are at large, and they represent the entire city of Houston, and they're voted on by the entire city base. Where from my purpose in District E, which is Kingwood down to Clear Lake, I'm voted on just by the constituents in that area.
Okay. So do you vote everything that you guys vote on? Do you vote on everything, or do you not vote on certain things because they don't pertain to your district?
No, we vote on every single item in the agenda.
Very good. All right. So what are some of the types of issues that you guys handle?
Well, a lot of things related to public service. We're a service organization. The city is basically fire, police, and public service, municipal employees. So we vote on anything that relates to spending money along those lines. And we also get the opportunity, I think this is a really important election for people because what we're seeing for the first time in a number of years is a downturn in the oil sector has affected the sales revenue that we receive. And we use that sales revenue to spend money on different budgets. Mm-hmm. So when people go to the polls next Tuesday or on November, we'll have the opportunity to set a new path, not only by the mayor and a new controller, but makeup of city council, which could dramatically change the course of the city of Houston.
Do you find that usually city council votes with the mayor, or is it usually pretty divided up?
It's pretty divided. For the most part, there are things on the agenda that are no-brainers. We put that on the consent agenda, so we vote on it as one lump. But then if anyone has a agenda item that they want to pull off the agenda, we have the ability to do that and then to discuss it. So when you look at the agenda, there are probably about 45, 50 items, and most of them are going to be put on the consent agenda. But then there may be some items that are specific to your district that you have some questions on or that you have some challenges with. Mm-hmm. So you have the ability to eliminate them from the agenda and to have a discussion about it and then vote from there.
So y'all do kind of a pre-voting just to see where everybody is and the things everybody's voting yes on put together, and then the things that have some question, different people voting different ways.
That's correct. You put that on the consent agenda and you vote on it as one lump sum.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like it's an important body of government. You said there are 5 that are overall voters for the whole city, and then the rest of them have their geographical areas they represent. When making your decision to run for city council, what made you decide to go with a geographic district versus the entire city of Houston? That's
a great question. I had the opportunity to serve on our local school board when I lived in Kingwood, and I did that for 10 years. And I always felt the passion for public service, but I also felt the passion for the people that I was working for. Mm-hmm. And I always looked at it as an opportunity to serve the residents in the area. We have a certain socioeconomic condition that we have in our area. We're predominantly Republican, and I have a Republican point of view, even though the city council is a nonpartisan race. Party politics always comes into play. But I always felt a special connection to the area that I live in. And when problems arise, when they hit you between the eyes, then you want to have the solution and make sure you implement the proper solution in the area that you are most affected by. So I've really enjoyed it. We always kid the at-large council members because they generally defer to the council members that have that particular district. So we always kid them and say, okay, exactly what do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
They don't like that.
That makes sense. You know, that makes sense that they would want to get more information about things specific to each geographical issues. Okay, so let's talk about some issues that happen in your area. Flooding is one of them that you have to deal with, right? Yes, especially down in the Clear Lake area. I had the opportunity to travel to the Netherlands last year and look at their coastal protection systems. We have so many great assets in and around the Port of Houston. 45% of the jet fuel is housed in the Port of Houston. About 48% of all the petrochemical processing is in that area. So what if? I'm a native of New Orleans, so I experienced hurricanes. At one point in our life after Katrina, we had 22 people living in our house because they were displaced. So you look at the what if. What if a major Category 5 hurricane came up the Port of Houston, came up the Galveston Bay, and affected us in not only would be an economic catastrophe, it'd be an environmental catastrophe. So coastal protection. It would affect the whole country.
Exactly. Not only city, but the state of Texas and the entire country. But one of the things we have to do is be proactive with the use of our dollars. What can we do today so that if we get to that point in time where we have a Category 5 coming up that path, our assets are protected and we can look back on it and say it was a good use of resources. But unfortunately, a lot of that money needs to come from the federal government, but we can do a lot local and state as well.
When you set your budget and all, where does most of your money come from?
As the city, most of our revenue comes from two sources: ad valorem taxes, which is from your home appraisal, and sales taxes, which is the amount of money that we receive on the sales tax revenue. And we build our budget based upon those two things. Now, you have a couple of different areas. For instance, the enterprise fund is a separate fund that funds the Houston airport system. So that's a separate bucket of money. But generally speaking, the sales tax revenue and the ad valorem taxes fuel everything we do within our budget structure each and every year.
So y'all don't get any federal money?
We get some grants. We get some federal grants coming from the federal government, but not a lot. And a lot of those we use for housing initiatives and healthcare initiatives as well.
Okay. So now, who presides over the city council? That's going to be important, right, for this election?
Yes, it will be, because we'll have a new person presiding over city council. It's always the mayor, number one. And if the mayor can't make that meeting for any reason, then we have a mayor pro tem, which is appointed by the mayor. And the pro tem's job is to pass along the agenda, is to enforce the agenda of the mayor. So they have to be aligned at the hip. So the mayor, in this case, I've had the opportunity to work for Mayor Parker for the 3 years I've been on council. And she's always at the meeting, and she always presides over council. Matter of fact, I can't recall too many times when she missed a meeting. So she's been very consistent. If she can't make a meeting, then the mayor pro tem jumps in and runs a meeting in her absence. But he will always carry the mayor's agenda. So now with city council, you said it's not real. A lot of issues are not real divided. One of the things that the mayors, I think all of the mayors, mayoral candidates have talked about is adding more police officers to the streets of Houston. Do you feel like you would have a consensus to add more police to the city of Houston? That's a good question.
Have the money
because number one, you have to increase the number of bodies on the street, which means you have to fund it somewhere. So with a limited pool of resources, where do we pull the money away from to fund public safety? And that's a tricky question. I'm a huge police fan. I think they do a great job. We need more on the streets.
But can we afford them?
The key challenge is, how do you make it affordable? And how do you do it within today's budget? As I just talked about, our sales tax revenue is going down. So we're going to have a little bit of a budget crisis if we're not careful on how we spend our money.
Whew. All right. Well, I'm glad you get to make those hard decisions and not me.
Well, you're part of it as well.
All right. Dave Martin, he's with the Houston City Council member for District E. We appreciate you coming on the show today. And if you're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio, you know you can always find it online as well at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com, where you can hear the show and watch videos of every segment we have. So find us online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com.